Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that, let's be honest, can feel a bit like reading an alien language at first: MPPT charge controller specifications. If you've ever stared at a spec sheet and just felt completely overwhelmed by the wall of numbers, believe me, you are not alone. But understanding these exact specifications is absolutely crucial. It's what prevents you from accidentally frying thousands of dollars of equipment, and it ensures your solar setup runs flawlessly. So we're going to break it all down, step by step. But before we get into the weeds, I've got a really high-stakes question for you. What single specification can literally destroy your controller the second you get it wrong? When most people shop for an MPPT, they tend to obsess over just one number, the amp rating. But focusing purely on amps is a massive trap, and it completely ignores the one spec that causes immediate, catastrophic failure. Any guesses?
Bam! Maximum PV voltage. If you misunderstand this specific number, you are risking a permanent, warranty-voiding failure of your equipment. It is the most unforgiving specification on the entire datasheet, hands down. And yet, surprisingly, it's the one people miscalculate the most.
To make sure you never fall into that trap, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll cover the maximum voltage trap. Then, we'll clear up the charge current illusion. After that, we'll look at battery auto-detect risks, walk through some essential solar math, and finally wrap up with a checklist for avoiding expensive failures.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the maximum voltage trap.
So there's a super common and frankly super dangerous assumption out there. You pull your controller out of the box, you see a big 150 volts PV input sticker, and you naturally assume, awesome, I should design my solar array to hit exactly 150 volts, right? No, absolutely not. The reality is that the 150 volt rating is an absolute do not cross cold weather limit. You cannot design right up to that edge. You absolutely must leave a wide safety margin. And the reason for that all comes down to temperature.
Let's paint a picture. Say your panels are pumping out 142 volts on a perfect, sunny, mild day. Safe, right? Well, actually, no, because when the temperature drops, cold weather literally forces your solar panel voltage to spike up. It's a phenomenon known as open circuit voltage rise. So, a freezing morning hits, your supposedly safe array spikes up to 155 volts, and your 150 volt controller, it instantly suffers an overvoltage fault. Permanent damage. The big takeaway here is that voltage limits are hard walls. Never, ever cross them.
Moving right along to Section 2, the charge current illusion.
So many people look at a label that says 50 amp MPPT and they think, okay, the current coming down from my roof panels needs to stay under 50 amps. Honestly, that is completely false. The charge current rating refers entirely to the output current that is delivered to the battery. It's a battery side limit. It is not a solar panel side limit.
And this right here is where the real magic of MPPT, maximum power point tracking, actually happens. The controller is basically a shapeshifter. It takes the high voltage and low amps coming from your panels and transforms it all into the lower voltage and much higher amps that your battery requires. Because of this conversion, those two numbers are almost never going to match. Your panel current might just be 10 amps, but your actual battery charging current could be pushing a whopping 40 amps.
Okay, Section 3, battery auto-detect risks.
A lot of modern controllers are pretty smart. When they wake up, they auto-detect whether they're hooked up to a 12-volt, a 24-volt, or a 48-volt battery bank. But because they do this, there's a very strict startup sequence you have to follow. Step 1, always connect the battery first. Step 2, only then do you connect the solar panels.
So what happens if you rebel and connect the solar panels first? Well, the controller powers up without any battery reference. It essentially has to guess, and it might misread the system voltage entirely. This incorrect sequence can cause massive charging errors. Imagine it trying to push a 24-volt charge cycle into a 12-volt battery. You're looking at extreme, potentially hazardous battery damage. So battery first. Give the controller the info it needs.
Let's pivot over to Section 4, essential solar math.
Now, don't let the word math scare you away. We're keeping this super simple, but you really do need to know this formula. Power equals voltage multiplied by current, or simply watts equals volts times amps. This is the foundational engineering formula that governs literally all solar energy calculations. It completely explains why we size systems the way we do.
To put that into perspective, let's look at an 800-watt solar array.
If you connect that to a standard 12-volt battery system, the controller has to push roughly 55.6 amps into the battery. You'd need a really beefy 60-amp controller just to handle that. But check this out. If you connect that exact same 800-watt array to a 48-volt battery system, the current drops down to just 13.8 amps. See what happened there? Higher battery voltages allow you to use much larger solar arrays without instantly maxing out your controller's amp limit. It's a massive efficiency hack.
You've also got to think about how physical wiring changes your input numbers. Wiring your panels in series adds their voltage together, while the current stays exactly the same. Wiring in parallel does the opposite. It adds their current together, but the voltage stays the same. Remember that maximum voltage trap we talked about earlier? Well, if you just keep stringing panels in series, your voltage will skyrocket and you'll blow the controller. Use this math to balance out your series and parallel connections safely.
Finally, bringing it home with Section 5, avoiding expensive failures.
Let's do a rapid-fire safety checklist. Avoid these at all costs. Number 1. Exceeding maximum PV voltage. We know by now that's instant death for controller. 2. Undersized wiring. That just creates severe heat and voltage drops. 3. Missing overcurrent protection. You absolutely need proper fuses to prevent fires. 4. Reverse polarity. Basically, don't cross your positive and negative cables. And 5. Mixing battery chemistries. This is huge. Never ever mix lead acid with lithium batteries, or even old batteries with new ones. Their charging profiles are completely different, and doing so is insanely dangerous.
Oh, and one more thing. No controller is 100% efficient. When a controller is doing that magical conversion from high voltage to high amps, some energy is always lost as heat. If you don't give it proper airflow and that heat builds up, the controller's efficiency will tank and it'll actually throttle your charging power. So proper ventilation is an absolute requirement. Let your gear breathe.
So, if you take only one thing away from this explainer, let it be this. Understanding MPPT specifications is what separates guesswork from actual engineering. When you know that charge current means battery output, and when you're calculating your cold weather voltage margins instead of just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, you are engineering a reliable system. Before I let you go, I want you to take a hard look at your own setup. What is the most confusing specification on an MPPT charge controller for you right now? Is it that strict PV voltage limit? Figuring out the battery charge current? Or maybe finding out the maximum wattage your specific battery bank can handle? Keep digging into those data sheets, run the math we talked about today, and build a system you never have to worry about. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.